Hey guys, Drifter here. Today we've got a special treat for you on the channel. I am here with the writer, director, and together producers of the new movie Fear Inc. Thank you for showing up. It's good to meet you. Would you both like to do quick introductions for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to meet you too, Drifter. My name is Vincent Marsciale. I directed Fear Inc.
Yeah, and I'm Luke Barnett, and I wrote it.
If you're curious as to what Fear Inc. is, obviously it's a horror movie. It's a new one, relatively independent, and if you want to see more about it or just purchase online, the link is down there below in the description. Very first one for you to click on.
I just want to be scared a little bit.
This ain't scary enough, huh?
This dude told me about this company that create these custom scares for you. It has begun.
What kind of company do you guys run? You made me kill my friends!
Fearing.
Was actually going to do some different questions, but I wanted to compliment you on your landing page. Not only did it just you go there, you see the trailer, and you've got all the digital distribution options. What made you decide to do that instead of the more traditional straight to theater or more convoluted landing pages that I often see for movies?
Well, that's actually done through the distributor of the movie, which is Dean Devlin, who produced Independence Day, is the distributor. And so they set up that page just to kind of make it really easy, since nowadays, online and VOD is kind of the biggest way that a lot of people watch movies.
Yeah, and you asked about going into theaters. Obviously, we would have a movie like this would have been super fun to have in theaters, but just in the landscape of film today. Video on demand and digital and watching movies at home is really competitive with theaters, and so we were happy to kind of jump into that space for sure.
Good to hear it. And I've got some personal questions for you here. For each of you, what is your personal favorite horror movie?
Well, if you've seen the movie, there's definitely a million references to Scream. I have to say that's probably my all-time favorite horror movie. It was one of the first that I saw when I was in high school when it came out, and was totally obsessed with it. And then because of that movie, paying homage to so many different horror franchises, I went back and watched all the Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street, and Halloween. Like my love affair with Scream, even today I still love watching that movie.
And so you're big into like slashers then?
Well, I think the thing that Scream did really well was having a movie that was really scary, but at the same time was funny. And with Fear Inc., that's what we really tried to emulate, is sort of the movie that you would put on your TV and watch every Halloween, because that's what I did with my friends. Luke did the same thing. We'd invite people over, watch Scream. We knew where all the scares were. We'd scare the crap out of each other. And so that's sort of like you walk away going, that was fun. That's the type of horror movie that I resonate with.
Gotcha. And Luke, what's your favorite type?
My
favorite movie
of all time is called Sleepaway Camp 2. I watched it last night for the first time, and I have no idea how that did not win the Academy Award that year. It's incredible. It's on Hulu and Netflix. It's a fantastic film.
It's Sleepaway Camp 2, not the first one, but the second one.
I went straight for the second one.
Yeah.
Have you seen the whole series? It's kind of crazy. They made like 4 of them, and then they made this like shot-for-shot remake of the original recently.
It's interesting. I watched the second and third last night. That's how much I was like, I can't say that this is a good movie, but I'm going to keep watching this movie. And then I looked it up online and saw that, and now I need to go find that.
Gotcha. That is very, very
I'm
old
what you
school
like.
and offbeat. That is like the max like cult level horror movie we could go just about. All right, then I'll flip this question on its head, starting with you, Luke. What is your least favorite type of horror movie? Because least favorite movie would be a little unfair. What's your least favorite type of horror movie? What do you just watch that's just like, it's just not that scary?
There's a lot of movies recently that are very kind of like slow burn, really kind of just like slow burn kind of artsier horror. And while I can appreciate it, I can't say that I really have enjoyed watching it. I think a lot of why we made Fear Inc. is because we missed the fun of horror movies. We missed going to like watch a movie with your friends and jumping out of your seat 1 second and laughing the next. And so like I'm just not a big fan of kind of like way too slow, artsy, sort of elevated genre horror. I'm a simple man. I like Sleepaway Camp too.
Gotcha. And Vince, what's your least favorite type of horror movie?
I'd have to say the torture porn horror. I think in the late '90s and early 2000s. I think this later on in the Saw franchise when it just became like, how nasty can we make this? How in the hostels and like I think there's definitely interest in those horror movies, and there's a certain part of them that are fun, but then when it gets to the point where it's too like over the top gory, that's where I'm like, it's a little too much for me, unless it's like way over the top and then you go in the campy direction, and I love that. Totally love that.
Saw 1 and 2 are both like genius, like perfectly rides the line between being like just gory and crazy enough, but also just like so smart that you're trying to figure out what's happening the whole time.
Yeah, and the first Saw is like, obviously we've got a massive reference to Saw in Fear Inc.
Small spoiler, there are definitely some Saw homages in Fear Inc.
Which like love the first Saw. It was so brilliant, and the second one too, and it kind of got to the point where it felt a little less smart and just like, how gross can we make these movies?
Yeah, they got progressively nastier and dumber. The traps got so complex they didn't even make sense even in Jigsaw's twisted sword of morality. So then I'm going to move on to a new question, and this is for either or both of you. The movie, which I've seen, has rapidly ramping quality in a lot of different ways, and it's because it's a twisty movie. So you've got a story and a story and a story, and I was seeing some things, and I'm like, that looks strange, and then the next scene is a total flip. What techniques did you use to get this effect? Because just watching it, not only was it obviously the story changes, but just visually the quality and tone and the overall the atmosphere, just we would go from campy to, oh my god, that's horrible, like fast.
Okay. Oh, you closed the garage, right?
Oh, yeah, locked all the doors. Did that.
Oh, shit. It has begun. Stop.
Yeah, I think the in terms of like the visual quality of the film, our biggest, like what we really wanted to do was try to get inside the head of the main character. And Joe, played by Lucas Neff, is obsessed with horror films and haunted houses, and so we wanted the movie to be fun and not too dark and not too visually dark. So so when he's going through his horror experiences, we wanted each of those scenes to kind of reflect what he's seen in his mind. He's imagining like he's in these horror movies. We wanted it to look that way. And so there are sort of like, we go from Scream to Friday the 13th to Saw to The Shining, and all those have different looks. And so we wanted it to feel like, if you're watching this movie, it feels like you're in that movie.
So we should go out. What happened to the bedrooms? No, you don't go upstairs. You don't get trapped in a room. Haven't you seen any horror movies?
It's our safest bet. You can't get in.
Do you want to die horribly? No, we can't stay inside. Ben's right. We gotta get to the car. Follow me. Ha! Ha! Come on. Let's go. Come on.
I think a great example, like, the majority of your fans are clearly gamers, and I think that for me, a lot of it was, if this guy was in a game, he's got to figure out what's real, what's not, how does he get through this, and a lot of that, when we were writing the script and making the movie, we want the audience to feel the same way. Like, we almost want the audience to feel like they're playing the same game as Joe, where when he makes a decision that ends up, either hurting everybody or benefiting everybody, you yourself wonder, was this the correct thing? Were these people who he paid to do this experience really creating an experience for him, or was he part of their game? It was a very kind of like, how do we go on this journey with this character where we're trying to figure out the same things that he is?
Gotcha. Well, the effect worked very well. I'll give you that compliment. And I've got another question about the lead character. Was your lead actor doing real drugs on set, or was he that good at acting? Because small spoiler, in a very short period of time, he does no small amount of alcohol, marijuana, and then he just very casually like busts out this line of cocaine like it's nothing, right? But I know that's part of the story, is that he's kind of like a man-child, right? But I look at this guy, especially after smoking weed, and I'm like, this guy looks like he's really, really stoned. Was he acting, or did y'all just let him do whatever he felt like on set?
Well, I mean, I can't say
I
that.
can't speak on his behalf.
I can't say that Lucas Neff has never smoked weed. But on set, the alcohol for sure was not real. The line of coke was fake. The joint was fake. You know, when we're shooting, we're trying to keep a professional atmosphere. That's not to say that, you know, actors need to do what they need to do to get into the moment. But he was fully. I mean, he got into it. He's an amazing actor.
Yeah, I highly doubt it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy that when we cast him, we knew him because he was the star of the show Raising Hope, but we didn't know what he was going to be able to bring in terms of like the second half of the movie when it takes kind of a much darker turn. And that to me is where he like just blew us away, because we knew he could do the comedy, we knew he could be the funny stoner, but like when he gets serious, I think he just killed it.
Well, and the other thing is, like, even if he was really doing drugs, like the fact that if you watch the movie from the point where, you know, he does the line of coke all the way through the end, he's such an amazing actor that you could see throughout this whole thing his buzz slowly start to wear off. And it's amazing, because if he was really doing drugs, he would have been on camera, it would have been all over the place. But the fact that he knew mentally, okay, I was really high here, and this is going to sober me up a little bit, then this is like, it's this gradual decline.
When you rewatch the movie, knowing that, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly fooled me, because I watched it with my wife, and he was doing his drugs and stuff, and at a little bit we took a look like when he's high and the first like bad things happen, and I see like you zoom in and his eyes are legit red. I was like, did he sit there and like rub his fists in his eyes or something? Because it seems like there were just gears turning in his head, like processing. Fantastic job.
He was just really good, man.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that,
all the way through, even as you say later on when it gets more serious. But I've got another question for you. Whose idea was it to set the horror element of this in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles? Because when you think about it, it's usually a spooky cabin in the woods or a big mansion out in New England or something. I guess that's Stephen King for the most part. But this is like a big, I guess it's a mansion in Beverly Hills, and what shocked me about it's a rich, nice neighborhood, kind of like the nice places in Scream, right? But instead of having an old spooky mansion haunted house, you actually have a new California Western style mansion haunted house that's just big enough to do all the same things, but it's very nice and like postmodern looking. Whose decision was that? Because that also kind of turned things on its head, and I just wondered if you guys had any comments on that.
This is actually pretty scary. Good job, guys. Very impressive.
Well, I think, early on when we were working on the script, I think we wanted to avoid the obvious of going to do a cabin in the woods. Like, we talked about it, and we knew it would have been easier. It would have been easier on the story for us to like, okay, well, they can't escape. They're stuck on this property. And initially we were like, let's not do that. Let's put it in a house in a neighborhood and be creative on why they stay in the house. And the fact that it's like this big rich house really lends itself to the story of this character who like has everything. Essentially, he's living off of his girlfriend's money, and he's in this beautiful house, but even that's not enough for him. You know, so going away to a vacation house or cabin or, you know, a mountain house or whatever just didn't really make a whole lot of sense with the story.
It also, which I don't know if we want to get into this on a separate question, but it also stems the idea for the short stemmed on a real guy who kind of was this Joe character to a degree. And so he went to all these haunted houses in Los Angeles where they have all these millions of dollars and a production value that's straight out of a movie, and this guy was still perpetually disappointed. So a lot of that, for me at least, was like the original character, you know, would have seen everything haunted house wise and kind of, you know, now we have this, huge trend of all these escape rooms and really massive haunted houses. And so LA is a place where you have so many of those that I feel like you would have a character like Joe.
And the other thing, just on a practical note, we wanted to make it really clear that this is a very expensive experience, because if there was any notion anywhere in the story that it was like average Joe can afford this, then it's like, what company would be able to pull off something like this? So we wanted it to be, they live in a very expensive house, so obviously they can afford
access to it.
They can afford a service like this.
Yeah, he had it going on pretty good with that girlfriend that was that wealthy in that house. But anyway, that's coming near the end of the interview, because like we said, YouTube is pretty short form. I do have a question for you, too. Any future plans for other horror movies or sequels to Fear Inc., or are you going to be venturing off into a different direction in the future?
Well, we've got a few things in development that are separate from Fear Inc., and then we've been, talking about a Fear Inc. sequel, and we've thrown around the idea of doing a TV series on Fear Inc. There's just there's a lot of different worlds that you can explore with a concept like this, and we took a crack at one small snippet with this first film that we really enjoyed and thought was a lot of fun. But if people really got a kick out of it, I think there's lots of different avenues we can explore.
You never really get to know any of the characters from the company or see that sort of thing. So I think there's a lot in that world, regardless of what perspective you're going at it from, to explore. And then essentially our other two things we're taking out, I can't go too far into, but the movie's more of like it's not horror, but it's dark. It's more of a like Nightcrawler, sort of like black comedy thriller. And then a TV show that is completely the opposite and is a pure kind of Adult Swim half-hour comedy sort of thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thank you for coming on YouTube for this brief interview. Guys, that was Luke and Vince, the writer and director of Fear Inc., respectively. And once again, if you're interested in watching the movie, I linked their landing page first down there in the description below, which also has a link on it to Amazon, Hulu, like a dozen different online distributors, so it's very easy to click and access straight from your computer. Drift0r out.